This is part 3 of GeoGuessr tips for every country. Let's first take a look at Czechia. The Czechian bollard looks like this. It is a white bollard with 2 orange reflectors. The signs in Czechia look like this. They are blue signs with white arrows. Place name signs in Czechia look like this. They are white signs with a black border that doesn't go all the way to the edge. And you'll also very commonly find these yellow bike route signs. Let's now head over to Slovakia. Slovakia uses the same bollards as Czechia, but they use different signs. Because in Czechia they use the blue signs with the white arrows at the end, whereas in Slovakia they look like this. The place name signs in Slovakia are also slightly different than those in Czechia, as the black border goes all the way to the edge and the font is bold. Next up is Switzerland. Switzerland is one of a few countries that has low camera coverage. As you can see, we're very low to the ground and you can see this very wide blur on the car. Typically Switzerland uses this round bollard with a white reflector, and the place name signs in Switzerland look like this. They have both the place name and the state or province that they're in. You can also region guess Switzerland based on the language that they speak. More western, it is French, more eastern, it is German, and down south, it is more Italian. We are now heading over to Austria. In Austria, you'll very commonly find these 3 things. The zebra crossing that has dashes behind and in front of the man, the Austrian flag on a lot of poles, and these bike routes on green signs. Let's also take a look at a few street signs in Austrian cities. First up, we've got Vienna. Next up, we have Linz. And in many suburbs of Graz, you'll find these green street signs. And a final tip for Austria is whenever you're in a big city close to the mountains, you're most likely going to be in Innsbruck. Let's now head over to Italy. There are quite a few tips to find out that you're in Italy. First off, the license plates. The license plates have blue strips on both sides, and the front license plate is a short license plate. These are typical street signs in Italy. They have this blue border around it and they have a very specific font. The signs in Italy are blue with a white arrow and they have a black back. And here's more typical signage that you can find in Italy. Notice the black borders that go around both of these signs, and the speed limit signs have a very distinct font. And here's also a region guessing tip for Italy. Whenever it's this flat, you're most likely going to be in Po Valley, which is this specific area near the river Po. Let's now head over to a small country below Italy, Malta. One of the first things that you'll notice about Malta is that they drive on the left side of the road. They also speak English. These are typical signs that you're going to find in Malta, and look at the place names, they're very unique. And maybe the best tip for Malta are the dry stone walls and the cacti that you're going to find all around the islands. Next up is Slovenia. In Slovenia, you're very commonly going to find this bollard, a white bollard with a black top and a red reflector. Slovenia also has a very typical kilometer marker with the kilometer at the bottom and this yellow road number in the top left. Slovenia is also one of a few countries that use yellow signs. Now we're heading to Croatia. Croatia is one of a few countries that uses this bollard, a white bollard with a black section and a red reflector. Croatia uses a kilometer marker that is quite similar to the Slovenian one, but you'll commonly find a blue road. And just like Slovenia, Croatia uses yellow signs. Let's head back inland and take a look at Hungary. Hungary uses the same bollards as Croatia, but they use different signs. They use green signs, which commonly have the road number on the left, the place name in the middle, and the distance on the right. The place name signs in Hungary have this red border and this very unique font. The language in Hungary is also very unique. They use a lot of accents and Z's and S's and C's. And maybe the best tip for Hungary are the poles. As you can see, they use these concrete poles that have holes in them, but they also very commonly use wooden poles with concrete slabs. Let's head even further east and take a look at Romania. Romania also has very unique signs. As you can see, they use blue signs with an arrow and a road number and crest. Romania uses a lot of concrete holy poles as well, and they are very commonly painted white at the bottom. Although you can also find round wooden or concrete poles that are painted white at the bottom. And here's a good clue to find out that you're in the capital, Bucharest. They use very similar street signs as those in Paris. We're now moving on to Serbia. Serbia uses a very unique bollard. It is a standard white bollard with a black top, but the reflector is very commonly moved to one of the sides. Serbia is also one of the countries that uses yellow signs, and as you can see, they use both Cyrillic and the Latin script. And here are some more things to look out for in Serbia. They use a kilometer marker that is quite similar to the one in Slovenia. If you look around, you'll notice that there is a lot of corn. You'll very often find these metallic poles, and for those that want to use a bit of car meta, the car does not have an antenna. Let's now take a look at North Macedonia. North Macedonia uses a variety of bollards. This one is unique though. It is a round bollard with a black top and it has a red reflector. Although you can also find these bollards that look a lot like those in Hungary or Croatia. And North Macedonia is the 4th country on the list that uses yellow signs, and just like in Serbia, they often have Cyrillic and Latin script. East of North Macedonia, you're gonna find Bulgaria. In Bulgaria, you'll find these signs. They are blue with a white arrow, and they also have Cyrillic and Latin script. A pole that is quite unique to Bulgaria is this one. It has 3 arms that either face upwards or downwards. You'll also notice that the northern part of Bulgaria can be quite flat, whereas other parts of Bulgaria are much more hilly or even mountainous. And last but not least, you'll find these place name signs. They have a black border on the outside and they use both Cyrillic and Latin script. Let's move back over from the Black Sea to the Adriatic Sea and take a look at Montenegro. There are some good clues to find out that you're in Montenegro. Let's first take a look at the bollard. It looks a lot like the Slovenian bollard. It is white and has a black top with a red reflector. Montenegro is also another country that uses yellow signs. And almost always when there's a long antenna on the car, you'll find rifts in the sky. Let's move on to Montenegro's southern neighbor, Albania. In Albania, we can actually find 2 clues that we can also find in Italy, which I haven't mentioned yet, both the bollard and the chevron. Just like in Montenegro, whenever there is a long antenna on the car, you will find rifts in the sky. But a good way to find out that you're in Albania and not Montenegro is by looking at the signs, since they're blue and not yellow. And just like in Italy, they have a black back. We are now heading to Greece. Greece actually has a unique bollard. It is a white bollard with a black section, but the reflector is quite square. Where other countries very often use concrete poles, you'll almost always find wooden poles in Greece. In the last video, I mentioned that in Poland you're going to find double white center lines, which is something you're also going to find in Greece. They also use these blue signs with in yellow the place name in Greek script and in white the place name in Latin script. And a good tip for the island of Crete is this antenna. As you can see, it's a bit thicker at the top than what we've seen with other antennas, but of course Crete also has other coverage where you won't see the antenna. And the last country we'll look at in this episode is Turkey. I feel like we haven't discussed enough bollards and signs, so let's take a look at some. This is the Turkish bollard. This is a typical place name sign, and this is a typical kilometer marker. If you ever see a mosque with a minaret like this, there is a very good chance that you're going to be in Turkey. Furthermore, Turkey has a very unique stop sign that says Dur. Once you know you are in Turkey, it can be very useful to look at the bins, as they mention the place name followed by the word belediyesi. Or like in a few previous countries that we've mentioned, you can look at the street signs. These are unique street signs to Istanbul. These are unique to Ankara. You can find these in Antalya, these street signs in Gaziantep, and these in Erzurum. We've now covered every country in Europe that has Google Street View coverage. This concludes episode number 3 of GeoGuessr tips for every country. Make sure to like the video and subscribe if you want to be notified when part 4 goes live.